The first time you slipped that little sweater onto your dog, he froze like a statue. He didn't move, not even an inch. You laughed, snapped a photo, maybe even pulled out your phone and posted it on Instagram. But in that exact moment, your dog was telling you something, and you didn't hear a word of it. What that freeze actually means, most people get completely backwards. Some folks think the dog is embarrassed. Others think he is calmed down and he's happy. But the science says something different, and that something is a little uncomfortable. I'm Ryan, and today I'm going to shake up your favorite little habit. There's a 5-second test. I'll give it to you right at the end of this video. That test will hand you a straight answer, whether your dog truly enjoys wearing clothes or just quietly puts up with it. And in winter, almost every owner makes one mistake, and they make it out of pure love. Yet that very mistake slowly cooks the dog from the inside. You want to know the strangest part? The calmer your dog looks, the more stressed he might actually be. How that works, I'll get to in just a bit. First, let me clear one thing up. You are not a bad owner. Actually, the opposite is true. You put clothes on him because when it gets cold, you shiver yourself. So you figure your little buddy must be shivering too. You grab that tiny hoodie off the shelf at Target, buy a matching one for the family Christmas card, and think this is the easiest way to show love. I can't blame you for any of that. I've done it myself. The real problem isn't you, it's those ads, the ones that sell your love back to you and keep the dog's discomfort out of the frame. The question was never about love. The question is whether your dog sees the whole thing the same way you do. And here's the real thing. The rules for humans and dogs are completely flipped. You put on clothes to get warm. Your dog already walks around in a coat all year long, and that coat is his own fur. And here's the big one. You can sweat, your dog can't. He cools down by panting, with his tongue hanging out. Now think about it. If you pile another thick layer on top of that fur, where does the heat inside go? You won't like the answer, but hang on a second, because there's a flip side to this too. Now, about that mute button. Listen closely, because this whole video stands on this one picture. The sweater on your dog isn't really just clothing. It's a mute button. A dog doesn't talk with his mouth. He talks with his body, his tail, his ears, the way he holds his back. When you wrap him up, you're not just warming him, you're covering his mouth. The sound he's trying to make, you're shutting it off without even realizing it. Hold on to this thought, because I'm going to come back to it at the end. So, what does the research say? I'll be honest here, it's not as black and white as you think. Some researchers used a digital fitting tool to measure the pressure on a dog's body. They found that a vest or a sweater presses the hardest on the chest and the belly, exactly where a dog is most sensitive. Funny thing, the brands that sell you those cute sweaters never print this on the box. Thick padded fabric squeezes the tightest, way more than thin cotton. So the piece you bought because it looked the most adorable might be the one pressing down the hardest. But here's the twist. That same pressure can actually help some dogs. How it helps is the most confusing part of all. There's a product called the Thunder Shirt, a tight-fitting vest. Some studies found that for dogs who tremble with fear, who panic during thunder or fireworks, putting it on snugly brings their heart rate down a little. In one open-label trial, a dog's thunderstorm anxiety score dropped by about 47% after wearing a tight vest. A big chunk of owners, close to 9 out of 10, said it worked at least a little. Sounds great, right? This is where you have to stop.
Because when the experts pooled all the studies together, they wrote that the proof is actually weak and there's very little of it, meaning it might work or it might not. So the answer is clear now, right? Snug is good, dressing your dog is safe, video over. No, it's not that simple. Because there's a scary mistake hiding here that I haven't told you yet. Remember that calm-looking dog I mentioned? Now I'm opening up its real secret. Experts talk about one fear. When a dog goes totally silent after you dress him and stops moving, we think he is calmed down. But a lot of the time, that isn't peace. It's a freeze, a kind of shutting down on the inside. He isn't moving because he feels so trapped that he has lost the nerve to move at all. This is exactly why those viral videos where a husky stands frozen like stone in a sweater are not as funny as they look. The mute button is fully pressed at that point, and you think he's posing. So the question becomes, does staying quiet always mean being happy, or does it sometimes mean giving up? Now, that winter mistake I promised you. When it gets cold, we assume every dog needs a coat. But a big, thick-coated dog, say a husky or a golden, traps heat inside his own fur. Pile a heavy coat on top, and he can't cool off. He keeps heating up on the inside, and he can't tell you a thing about it. On the other side, a small, thin-coated dog, an older dog, or a tiny chihuahua really does shiver on a cold street, and for him, a light coat is a blessing. The difference isn't in the clothing, it's in the dog. And keep one small thing in mind. Take the coat off before playtime, because running makes his body build its own heat. So, what do you actually do? Here's that 5-second test, and you can use it tonight. After you put the clothes on, take your hands away and just watch.
Is your dog walking normally, wagging his tail, coming toward you, or is he frozen, ears pinned back, slowly slipping away to sit in a corner? Slide 2 fingers under the neck, and if they don't fit, it's too tight, so take it off. If he walks over on his own and his body stays loose, you'll know he's fine. And if he freezes, he's shouting something at you. You just can't hear the sound. Here's something a lot of people don't even know. Dogs barely have any sweat glands. His whole air conditioner is that panting, breathing fast with his tongue out. Now picture this. When a thick sweater covers the chest and the throat, the path for that cool air to get in gets blocked too. You see a cute little outfit. His body sees a closed window. And there's one thing we never notice, the smell of the fabric. A new sweater carries the smell of detergent and the factory, and a dog's nose is 1,000 times sharper than ours. What you think is clean and soft, he feels as a strange, harsh blanket pressing on his skin. Now let's be a little honest. Why do we even do this? In America, the dog clothing market alone is worth billions of dollars, and it grows every single year. The reason isn't your fault. The reason is love. We see our dogs as family, so whatever feels good to us, we put on them. But this is exactly where the mute button comes back. We place our own comfort onto him, even though his comfort runs by completely different rules. So the question shifts a little. Whose comfort are you really thinking about? Yours or his? Now let me come back to that mute button one last time. Love isn't only about hugging. Love also means pulling your hands back sometimes and quietly listening. Your dog has read every one of your bad moods his whole life and understood every silent cry. Now, just once, you read his silent language. Dressing your dog is not a crime, not at all. But the clothing that dresses him up while taking away his voice, that stops being love. Honestly, I can't tell you this works the same way for every dog because every dog is different. So if you think this is simple, no, it's actually not simple. It's just a matter of looking a little differently. Try that 5-second test tonight and tell me honestly down in the comments. Now for the real question,
the one I know half of you won't agree with me on. Is dressing your dog really for him, or is it actually for you? For your photos, for your own feel-good moment? Drop your answer in the comments and let's see which side we lean toward.